Okay. We have a stream going live tonight. I want to just hurry up and send out the link on Twitter. So you're getting to see kind of the behind the scenes of the show right now, as it were. We are in the extra innings of this as I am recording. Right now it is the 10th. Jose Ramirez just moved the base runner up. We are going to do our show today. And like I said, since it's a stream, this is kind of the beforehand stuff, non-typical things. But you get a little bit more of a rough show when it is this type of show. So without further ado, I want to make sure I can see if any questions pop up. Let's do our more traditional opening. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Locked On Guardians. Let me try that again. My audio track is super low. Sorry, everyone. Sorry, video watchers. Take 3. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's edition of Locked On Guardians. We have runners on first and third currently, with one out in the 10th inning as I'm recording. We have prospects. We have roster moves. We have so much to talk about on today's episode of Locked On Guardians. Hopefully, I'm going to record a walk-off win here. Well, not a walk-off because it's in Minnesota, but a win. You know what I mean. Everyone knows how this works. We're going to skip the whole video thing because I don't know how to throw that in a live stream. But right now, it is, if the Guardians win this one, they will be tied for first place in the division, which is not what anyone expected the case to be at the end of June. As this mound visit occurs, let's talk about some of the interesting things that occurred today. First off, Oscar Mercado acquired for Connor Capel and Duran was, I think, Torres was the young, strong outfielder. I really liked Connor Capel. I was kind of shocked. It was a last-second deal that went through. Mercado had been a converted infielder, I want to say, before he came to the Guardians. Thank you for jumping in, Ryan. But he had been a converted infielder. He hit really well for the Cardinals. He had that great rookie year, but if you listen to the show for a long time, you know I cautioned there was inconsistency, there was streakiness, and that's what we kind of saw. And, last year when he got an opportunity, he actually wasn't bad in a role that, he has to be a platoon bat at best. There's not much more than that. But his defense regressed a bit as well. I honestly think the Guardians might end up trading him. I think there'll be a few teams that try to claim him. I don't think he gets through waivers because center fielders are hard to come by. Bradley Zimmer had minor trade value. And the team obviously valued Mercado more. Now, part of that was right-handed versus left-handed, and the way this team was set up, where the only right-handed outfield types are Fanmil Reyes and Oscar Gonzalez. And I mean that amongst all of their top, double and triple A outfielders, and maybe even infielders would really have to look at it. But yeah, it's he got a chance to stick around, but they absolutely made the right move. Because he was a worthless platoon partner right now because he's not playing well. But I saw Rays fans and Dodgers fans clamoring for him to potentially be someone who comes. I'll be curious to see what happens, but that was 100% the right move. Nick Sandlin, people look at ERA. Don't look at ERA. His walk rate, he got out of a lot of jams. He just has no control right now. And come on, Oscar. Oscar got jammed his last time up, and we just need a little bit better contact. Of course, we'll get into as I jump into some of the segments. But you know what? I'm going to get myself in trouble. I need to do all the traditional opening things. Today's episode of Locked On is brought to you by, hey, Guardians fans, you're going to love this one. Today's episode is brought to you by the Sports Card Investor app. Welcome to the world of trading cards reimagined. Stay tuned later in the show for more information on this awesome new tool for collectors. You're going to want to check out the Sports Card Investor app. And I want to thank you for making Locked On Guardians your first listen today and every day, wherever it is that you get podcasts. And for those who don't know me, my name is Jeff Ellis. I'm the host of Locked On Guardians, have been since its inception. Before that, I was a lead prospect and draft analyst over at 24/7 before they got rid of Baseball and Scout before they went bankrupt. Before that, I wrote about prospects at Indians Prospect and Indians Baseball Insider. That was where I kind of got my start back in 2007, right? Maybe 2008 is when I started writing there. But yeah, to get back to the roster moves, Sandlin getting sent down is 100% also the right move because anything that's expected Oof, Gonzalez. That's a rough swing there at 2-1. That's exactly what, if you are concerned about him, it's things like that. I mean, the chase rate, he's kept it down, but my whole concern, man, he still got a tip on that one. I mean, that's why it was a 2-2 count beforehand. But I can't see him striking out less in the big leagues than he did in the minors. He's striking out a lower percentage in the big leagues, which you think there'll be some regression. I'm still, like I said, for him to work, he has to completely go against everything we kind of know to be true. Maybe he does it. Maybe the Guardians just get lucky in that regard, and he's yet another unicorn in this system. I called for him to be promoted on that whole thought process, and maybe it works. It'll be interesting to see if it does. Hopefully it works right here. But, going back to the main thought process, Sandlin walks too many guys. He's too inconsistent. He's just not... He's a guy who has struggled with health, and it's like last year he looked like the 8th inning guy. Then he had more health issues, and he just hasn't been the same dude this year. So hopefully he can help. They can help him get things figured out. Part of the reason, I didn't think he got that one, but he got a nice amount of. He turned into that 100-mile-an-hour fastball. And Yale de los Santos was a minor league free agent, and go scout Philly because they don't develop their own pitchers. But he has been great. I mean, since he was called up during the COVID situation, he has been one of their most reliable pen arms. In this game, he came in, pitched 1 2/3 innings, gave up a run, but it wasn't necessarily like directly his fault. It was a walk and 3 strikeouts, another strong performance. But yeah, looking at this team right now, letting go of Mercado, they now have 39 players on their 40-man roster. We've talked about the crunch on the 40-man. At the end of the month, they have to make a decision about Karinchak. They have to figure out what they're going to do. He has now had back-to-back decent outings. The bullpen looks really good. I mean, if you can add him back in, one thinks that you could potentially try to rebound his trade value if you don't feel like you necessarily need him, or if he can get back to where he was. Now, we've yet to see an effect. The one thing you can't do in that situation, Oscar. The one thing you can't do, double play. Yeah, it's a heartbreaker. But going back to discuss what I was before everything went off the rails there, the bullpen is very well set. There's not a whole lot of wiggle in general on this bullpen and what they're doing. And they're going to want 5 starters. You can only have 8 people in your pen. I know they're going to want to keep multiple left-handed relievers in the bullpen. So, who does Karinchak permanently replace right now? Like I said, De Los Santos has been great. Your 2 lefties are right now Anthony Gose, and it is, and I'm blanking on Henches, the good one who pitched today. And then, Trevor Stephan has had a nice rebound. He is still pitching well. Brian Shaw has pitched well all year. Obviously, Class A isn't going anywhere. Morgan isn't going anywhere. It's okay, so Anthony Castro is your weak link. So if he comes back, he could fill that spot. But the rest of this pen is almost solidified to a point where you're I wouldn't mess with any other part in this pen. So you do have one spot for him. But again, there could be the building of trade value with, almost any... I wouldn't say almost any reliever. You want to keep a lot of the guys you have a lot more control over. But it's going to be interesting to watch how they do this over the next few weeks with this team. And like I said, Karinchak is going to fill that 40-man spot. This is just a temporary thing while he kind of plays out the end of his 60-man DL rehab. And then they'll have to add him in. But they still have to, add back in at some point this season. We're going to have to see them let go of someone for Cody Morris, let go of someone for Carlos Vargas. And I think those are the only 2 who are currently 60-man outside of Karinchak. Yeah, so, that means they gotta... There's 2 more spots they have to figure out. Castro, we'll see if he sticks around, if it could be someone else. It's going to be hard, because this roster is already... my best guess, if you're looking for, the names of the guys who seem most likely to hold, to relinquish a spot... My list would be Yohan Ramirez, who they just claimed, filled that spot when they bought him from Seattle. Kirk McCarty, who's been a solid up and down type, but the type of guy you risk losing in that situation. And then Tobias Myers, who really has not been very good at all this year in AAA. And then Castro would be the next. So those are kind of the names. But again, this is a team that needs to clear some 40-man space. Hopefully they can figure out a trade to get that done. But I agree with all their roster moves today. They made 100% the right moves, the right call to go out and add the players that they added. We're going to take our first commercial break here. And listen, let me write down my handy-dandy timestamp. So our first sponsor today, I'm going to share a little thing. So let me make sure I get the name right, Sports Card Investor. So what I'm bringing out to show people who are watching the video is I talk about my love of all things draft. I heard about this game from the 70s called Pro Draft by Parker Brothers. And of course I eBayed it because I love all things draft. And why am I bringing this up? Because it didn't come with the original pieces, but in here it said instead of original pieces, you could replace it with playing cards. So the person I bought it from sent me playing cards to play in the various spots. And thanks to the sports card app, I had no idea. There's a lot of cards in there. These 5 have value. This John Hanna card in the center, it's not in perfect mint condition, is literally the most expensive card in the Topps 1974 collection. That is a John Hanna rookie card. Until I had downloaded and used the app from our sponsor here, Sports Card Investor, I had no idea. I was playing this game with my daughter. I was shuffling these cards like they were, playing cards and using it just to help fill in because you fill in the spots on your roster. Sports Card Investor let me know, hey, I was shuffling away and potentially damaging money. I was hurting my own investment thanks to using their easy-to-use software. I was able to look up and find out which cards have value, which cards I could remove from the game, and which cards are actually players that are like I said, I thanks to Sports Card Investor, I saved myself some money. I would recommend going through. It's simple to do. You can just type in. I'm more of a typer than a scanner, but it's right there for you to type it in and see what your cards are valued. They are always adding more all the time to their app, and let me give you the final official part so you can find out even more about this really fun app. Like I said, I downloaded it, I used it, I think it's great. And download the Sports Card Investor app today. Available for free in the Google Play and Apple app stores, or go to sportscardinvestor.com/lockedon. And again, that is something I highly recommend thanks to my own personal experience. You never know what value you might have if you're someone like me who, I got into cards back when they were the loot boxes of my youth. Thank you, Lawrence, for joining us. But you never knew. I hadn't looked back in so many years, and especially in something like this where it's just a bunch of cards in a box so I could play a game. I had no idea. Thank you, B. Skrills, also for jumping in on here. But yeah, go check that out. So, okay, we currently have runners on first and second with no outs. Trevor Stephan, who has been up and down of late, is in this one. I was doing my ad read there as a good podcaster does, so I didn't actually see how the base runner reached. I guess I could go click on plays and the thing. I will say, before I get into anything else about this game, I actually loved the lineup today. Major credit to how things change. Quan with 4 hits getting moved to the top of the lineup. Again, listen, Ahmed is fine. He is a league average player. I don't want league average in the 2-hole. That's just me. Listen, I look at the advanced stats that say your number 2 hitter should be your best hitter on your team. I'd love to see a little more shifting of this lineup. But hey, Naylor, great day, and he's sitting there hitting 4. Oscar Gonzalez, he had 1 hit. He keeps getting hits. Fanmil Reyes, the number of people who are just being incendiary about him in this game. And yeah, he started out 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. But I will take that every single day when you hit the 2-run tying home run to dead center in target field. What a shot by Franmil to just really take a game that at that point in time, as a watcher of it, I was feeling very low. Eli Morgan, he came in and was a runner on first that Eniel had left in, and then like a double on the first pitch. They come out and scorch it. Hanging pitch. Thank you for joining us, Derpy Gaming. Those pauses are always me actually reading all the comments. Yeah, it's a perfect time to be a believer in this Cleveland Guardians team. And there we go. Out number one, Trevor Stephan recording the strikeout. Hopefully we can get out of this one. It is a tough situation. But, yeah, so Morgan comes in, hangs it, double, hangs it, home run. And it's like Morgan has been, one could argue, their best just pure pitcher this year. Reliever starter, like most dominant pitcher has probably been Eli Morgan. He just didn't, he rebounded from it, but he just did not have it for those first two hitters. And that's the guy you want in that situation. You don't second guess that at all. That was 100% the right call. But that home, you have the lead, and you're like, oh, man, this is your chance to take game one on the road, be in a tie for first place, and instead, the home run's given up, and then things are going sideways. And listen, I'm a Franmil believer. I have been on this podcast talking about how I think he will rebound. He's wasn't healthy at the start of the year. We'll see what he can do. Oh, perfect pitch. Perfect pitch right there. But none of us expected that home run. And then the charge out of it, I was jumping out of my seat for that after that home run. Again, it just, right now, it stinks because it's like if Oscar did anything but put it on the ground there, right now, this would be a situation to win the game. Oh, man. What a follow-up pitch there. He just made Kepler look silly. Kepler's been like probably the biggest Indians killer. Well, right now it's, one of the people in chat is asking how it's going. Tie game in the 10th inning, runners on first and second, 0-2 count on Max Kepler. 2 perfect pitches to Kepler so far. I fear Kepler. He always seems to be the guy who kills the Guardians. This is a perfect situation for him. 5-5 game, bottom of the 10th. But yeah, the game has gone, Josh Naylor home run, Fanmil Reyes home run. Franmil tied it up. Naylor, I believe, was the go-ahead home run. Jose Ramirez is playing. That's just that's a win on the whole day. I was concerned, natural Cleveland mentality, right? Like you expect he's going to miss time. Nope, he's playing today. He had a double in this one, just the one hit, but still, you'll take the fact that he was healthy enough to get a double. And again, it's nice that they changed this lineup. And it's kind of crazy, too, where you can look at this lineup right now and say, again, I don't like Andres Gimenez hitting 7th. That's me. That's my personal view on that. But you can also make a case that 1 through 7 is, and then Kepler struck out by Trevor Stephan. He just owned Kepler in that at-bat. No way around it. He dominated him throughout that at-bat. He made him look silly at multiple times. A swinging strikeout high in the zone on Kepler. But you look at his lineup right now, when you go Quan, Rosario, Ramirez, Naylor, Gonzalez, Reyes, Gimenez. Like, okay, that's 7 real hitters. Like a year ago, we had 3, 4 at a time. You had the 3 outfielders who played the most games, or had the most plate appearances, I should say, were Bradley Zimmer, Harold Ramirez, and Eddie Rosario. So, another perfect pitch, Trevor Stephan. This is always my favorite fun fact. The Guardians have lost so many great players to the Rule 5 draft. Hector Rondon to the Cubs, Anthony Santander recently to Baltimore. The list can keep going on and on and on. There's been so many players, I should make a list. The best WAR any player Cleveland has ever acquired in the Rule 5 draft in the entire, multi-decade history of this thing is 2.5 WAR. Trevor Stephan has a real chance to be the greatest Rule 5 selection in Guardians history. But right now he is 0-2 on Gary Sanchez, who's been a nice rebound for the Twins this year. We'll see if he can get out of this one. Fingers crossed. Pitching does win championships. I agree, Derpy Gaming. The thing with this Guardians team, it's interesting. It's the bullpen is stronger than the starters. I don't know. I think McKenzie and Bieber are front line. I think everyone else is kind of more mid to back end. This was Aaron Civale, in fairness, his second best start of the... Oh, what a pitch. Whew. That was strikeout. Back-to-back strikeouts. Utterly dominant by Trevor Stephan. Griffin Jax is coming in. I want to say he pitched at Navy back in the day. He was a starter for the Twins a year ago. Twins are kind of doing what the Guardians did. You look at Yarl Cotton, who pitched in this game, Griffin Jax. Those are a pair of starters turned relievers who've been, very good for the Twins, just like Trevor Stephan and Sam Hentges were starter turned relievers for Cleveland's pen this year and have been such an important part of this team. So we'll see if the Guardians can maybe do something here. We got Franmil, Gimenez, and then Maley up in this game in the 11th for the Guardians. The other thing I want to talk about on today's show, we're going to do our second sponsor break here. Always a little bit longer when we stream a show, but we're going to hop in, do a second commercial break, come back, talk about this game as it continues to be ongoing, as well as some top minor league performers, some players who have been let go, released, and have retired recently from the minor leagues. And our sponsors, we have a pair of dual ones here. So I've talked about Blue Nile many times. They've been a sponsor repeatedly on this show. Blue Nile does fine jewelry, engagement rings, and just, fine jewelry and wedding jewelry is what they are known for. I am not someone who knows a lot about jewelry. Honestly, I go to my wife and would ask her, what do you like? And she would let me know. But what I have liked when I've gone to look at Blue Nile in the past, as someone, you go and you look at what you're going to talk about, so you know about it. It doesn't look cookie cutter. Sometimes you see those ads for a jewelry company, it all looks the same. It is always the same type of ring. It is the same it is the same. They're undistinguishable from each other. That is not Blue Nile. Blue Nile is original. It is different. It is, if you're going to spend the big chunk of change that jewelry is, we also can save you some money, but you also don't want to get something generic. You want to get something that is going to stand out, something that is memorable. And make your moment sparkle with jewelry from Blue Nile and Locked On Sports. Listeners get $50 off purchases of $500 or more. This podcast exclusive includes engagement. Use code Locked On. That's code Locked On. Plus, every order is insured, ships free, and arrives in discreet packaging that won't give away what's inside. Shop stress-free and find your forever piece. Go to BlueNile.com today. And our next sponsor is LinkedIn Jobs. As the sun comes out and small businesses are back in business, LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to grow your team. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the people you want to interview faster and for free. Hey, I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm connected with a bunch of baseball people on there. It's a great way to connect with other business professionals, and baseball uses it. I've seen a lot of connections through LinkedIn. Get a free job post in minutes on LinkedIn Jobs to reach your network and beyond of the world's largest professional network of over 810 million people. Simple tools like screening questions make it easier to focus on candidates with just the right skills and experience so you can quickly prioritize who you'd like to interview and hire. That's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the candidates you want to talk to faster. Did you know every week nearly 40 million job seekers visit LinkedIn? Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnMLB to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Back to game action. Oscar Gonzalez on second with Franmil Reyes up to bat. So I want to talk about some minor league performers. So we did have a pair of DSL releases in David Flores and Joncel Cuavas. I was not as familiar with those two because I don't really get into the DSL. Dominican Summer League. In that also, I believe those players do not affect, there is a limit on how many players you're allowed to have in your minor league system. Those two players would not have counted against that. In terms of players who were released and or retired, Bo Naylor, neither of those, but stick with me here. Bo Naylor was promoted to AAA because Brian Levestida hurt a leg muscle. I can't remember which leg muscle. So they promoted Bo Naylor, knocked down Mike Rivera. I'm going to cough. I'm going to back away from the mic. Mike Rivera was like a 6th, 7th round pick at University of Florida. He caught a lot of pro prospects there. He was the best defensive catcher in that draft. You're kind of hoping maybe like Roberto Perez, you get him in your system and you can find more, especially because there's the golden sombrero for Franmil Reyes. But it's okay. The home run means that you take the golden sombrero tonight. But Florida's developmental program has been kind of up and down, very inconsistent, and you hoped for more for Rivera. Apparently, when he got demoted, he decided to retire instead. So he is leaving the system. They did, the same day they announced that he was being sent down, they released Ben Krauth, who was, I want to say he was he might have been a day 3 pick out of Kansas. Missed a ton of bats in low A, but just the classic case of you need to look at age relative to level and also know like the importance of command. As he moved up, the performance was never as strong, and they got to clear spots. Like that clears 2 spots, but with the draft upcoming in 3 weeks, they're going to add a lot of players to their minors. There's going to be a lot because they're already at the max where they were before these releases. So there's going to be some things to move around. And that's just, what happens in these situations. There's a bunch of transferring occurring of other players, kind of the general moving around. But the other thing I wanted to point out is there were some players of the week in the minor leagues. Logan Allen, who had come back from injury, and he was the Eastern League pitcher of the week. Logan Allen, the younger, as I like to call him. And Pedro Almanzar was the Dominican Summer League pitcher of the week. Will Brennan got named the player of the month for the Columbus Clippers. All he did in that month was, I believe, hit close to 500. Great story. Another guy, Kansas State two-way guy, pitcher, left-handed pitcher, and an outfielder. He has really come along. He is like the Stephen Kwan of the minors this year. Just keep that in mind in terms of performance, on-base ability, playing multiple spots, not striking out a lot. Ooh, get in. That's going to drop. That's going to score a run. Andres Gimenez. I know I get all the names wrong. But that is a 6-5 game. We'll see if they can keep it together. Class A is going to be warming up. Andres delivers, right? Like, outside of Jose, is there honestly anyone you'd rather have up in these situations? Andres always seems to deliver in the clutch situation. Bloop single between the second baseman and the center fielder. Oscar Gonzalez has good wheels. Gets from second to home. The single gets that run across. Guardians with a chance to win this game and be tied for first in the division. O'Neal Cruz, I'd rather have him. I don't know if I'd rather have him than Andres Gimenez. Love you, Ethan. Thanks for hopping in, dude. But I understand the Pirates. What I love about O'Neal Cruz is he shouldn't work. Like, again, I talked about why Oscar Gonzalez shouldn't work. 6'7" shortstops just don't happen at all. And I was the guy because I always look at what's the typical, and I look at someone like him, and I kept waiting for him to fail. And yeah, I'll end up being wrong, but I always love the outlier, even though the outlier always makes me look stupid in the end. But yeah, just going back to top minor league performers for Cleveland. I thought there was 2 more guys I wanted to talk about. One, Carlos Vargas. Oh, man, he was on the 60-day disabled list. So when I was talking about players, Cody Morris, no, he was one of the 3. I did mention him. He is at some point in the next, they got 30. He was activated June 19th, so they have till July 19th. They can have him, I believe, on a 30. Maybe it's only 20-day rehab assignment, even though he's never pitched in the big leagues. He came out in his first game back after missing all of last year due to Tommy John and was hitting 98-99, has a plus slider. I've been saying it, for a long time. I was saying Eli Morgan's got this good fastball, but an amazing change. Just put him in the pen and fast track him. Vargas is still just a 2-pitch guy. Both of those are potentially 70 grade pitches. So I think for me, I'll get into these questions in the chat here in a second, but I think pay attention to Carlos Vargas. He's already on the 40-man. He is filthy. Arguably has, it's hard to say it was the best fastball in their mind. It's you go to make that statement, and then there's Gavin Williams, Daniel Espino. Vargas has a top 5 fastball in the system, and his slider might be the best. It's certainly up there with Espino's, but either way, he is another potential bullpen weapon, and that's why, I am totally up there if you can end up trading someone like Crenshaw, if you can call him, bring him back, and he can reestablish a value. Teams need relievers. Where does Owen Miller fit in this lineup? Shroom, it's good to see you back. Haven't seen you in the comments in a while. First. Second off, I think he should be at least a platoon partner for Josh Naylor. I talked about this at the show on Monday. Look at Josh Naylor's runs created plus. He's got a 160 versus righties for his career and a 79 versus lefties. Owen Miller has a 115 this year against lefties, a 100 against righties. He should at least be his platoon partner. I love Josh Naylor. Love everything he's done this year. He's another person I totally flubbed it and missed it on. He should play at least every day as a platoon partner, and I think you could expand that role out. So if you want to play versus lefties, then listen, I don't want Andres Gimenez. I'm just going to call him Andres, because here's what happens. I get a name wrong in my head, and then I can't remember the correct one, and I go back and forth. Someone recently, again, commented on my pronunciation issues, so I get I overcompensate for it. For instance, my daughter has a Beauty and the Beast book, and I go between Philip and Philippe. But, I agree with you, Shroom. I would trade Rosario and put Miller at second and Andres at short. I agree 100%. I would also consider a crazy platoon where, again, he plays first base versus lefties, plays second base against righties. You trade Rosario and bring up someone like, Gabriel Arias, and have Arias as part of a platoon. The problem is, it's not like that really helps the platoon, but it's like Miller has been decent this year against lefties. But this is all because I do think Naylor would be best if we could find him a platoon friend. But right now, he's kind of stuck in that first base, and he'll have that, and then they threw it away, but not enough to advance to second base for Andres. Gimenez. Okay. Gimenez. Or Gimenez. Like I said, I get very sensitive about the pronunciation thing because I do it wrong, and I know I do it wrong, but it's the whole ADD dyslexic thing. And I will say something right for a while, and then I'll start saying the wrong one, and then you'll hear me in a podcast actually go back and forth with the same player's name. But thank you, Ethan, for that. No, I think this is exactly the type of fun game to watch because, A, it's extras. Ooh, walk right there for Luke Maile. Maile's been struggling a bit of late with the bat. What is interesting in this Indians catcher situation, I know I'm going long, but hey, it's a stream. No one seems to complain, and the long ones, I've been averaging close to 300 views, so we're gonna go long again today. I don't know if anyone else has noticed this. Hedges is still framing at an elite rate. Absolutely a fantastic pitch framer, but he was traditionally someone who threw out about 40% of base runners. It's down at 20, maybe even below 20. He had a rough weekend. I'm not sure what's up with that. I'm not sure why he's all of a sudden not as effective. Maile did throw some out in this game. He might actually have the better arm. All of this is still for me to say. Luke Maile and Wilson Contreras have the same framing data numbers on Baseball Savant. Let's go get that trade done. Bo Naylor has the highest runs created plus in the minor leagues amongst Guardians prospects. He is absolutely going to be ready to go in a year, maybe even ready to go this year. That's essentially the question. If the front office thinks he's ready to go, and that is the glaring hole in this team, it is the biggest need is catcher because they have, Hedges is hitting like Mike Hampton back in my day. I don't know how many people remember him from the Atlanta and then Colorado Rockies era. He was the best. So Nolan Jones can't hit lefties at all. Probably never will. So he can't be the guy to call up to platoon with Naylor. He'll probably be even worse of a case. Like he is the guy who needs a cat. He needs a caddy maybe more than Naylor. Excuse me. This is what happened when you talk for almost 40 minutes. Ty Freeman, I don't know exactly about his splits in the minors. He potentially could be that guy, and I was the low man on Freeman. I'm still not necessarily someone who loves that profile. But what he's doing in AAA, you can't necessarily look past. And the big thing for him this year is he's definitely, he's, okay, so in 41 games, it's amazing. He's played in exactly the same number of games last year as this year. We forget kind of how much time he missed with injury. That was unfortunate there for Straw with the strikeout. Looking. But because of that injury, he only played in 41 games. In 41 games last year, he had 8 walks. He's got 15 this year. His career high in a season is 26. It looks like he'll race past that. His career high for home runs in a year was 3. He's already at 3. Some of that is playing in Columbus. Oh, my thoughts on those prospects. I'm going to cough. Let me get a drink here. It's a problem with going. I love Nolan Jones. I have for a while. I think he's a 35 home run guy. I think he is. There's a lot of Russell Brandon vibe to him. Russell Brandon is a baseball player, not as a creepy stalker. Always have to put that out there. I think he'll walk a lot. He's starting to take the ball the other way. They have worked with him. If you're watching him this year, like I am more excited by him than I have been in a few years. He's hitting the ball the other way. He's using the whole field. He's striking out less. The power is undeniable. When that guy gets it, he gets it. He could be a 30 home run guy for me. He's going to be a low average. I don't think he'll ever hit even 260, but he should walk like something like 12% of the time, probably strike out close to 30. You know, if you really want to be kind of negative, maybe the comp is Mark Reynolds. Mark Reynolds lasted for a while in this league, and he's still got one of the 5 best WARs of any hitter from the University of Virginia. That's, that's just for you, Aaron. Ty Freeman, I'm not going to quite buy into the power this year because that Columbus Park is a poop show, to put it nicely. It is poorly designed for anything other than hitting. It's great for entertainment. It's a beautiful park. It's a wonderful place to watch baseball. It is a miserable place to find parking. At least it was the last time I tried to attend a game there. And it makes it hard to evaluate anyone. But Freeman, again, seems to have really taken the coaching this offseason. This front office, and not even the front office, this coaching staff in the minors is doing amazing work right now. For so long, they could not, I've talked about how many times on the show. 5 highest WAR outfielders since Manny Ramirez was drafted in 1991. Luke Scott, Ryan Church, Joe Inglet, because he was an outfielder at Nevada School, Tyler Naquin, and I believe it's not Bradley Zimmer. It'll be Stephen Kwan soon, but there's someone I'm forgetting on that list. But still, that's what we're talking about. And this is a team that one year, they drafted Tyler Naquin in 2012, Zimmer in 2013, Pappy that same year. Then they came back and took Clint Frazier, or no, was it Naquin, Frazier, Zimmer, Pappy. They didn't have a first rounder the next year, and they took Quentin Holmes. Like, they were drafting only outfielders with their top pick for a while there, and had almost nothing to show for it. Sizemore, what about Grady? I love Grady. Grady is one of the great what-ifs in Indians history. He wasn't drafted and developed. He was part of the Cliff Lee trade. So he was they got, not Cliff Lee, Bartolo Colon deal. They got Lee Stevens, Grady Sizemore, Brandon Phillips, and Cliff Lee. So all 3 of them went on to be All-Stars. That's why it's like one of the great fleecings in Guardians history. It's going to be hard to top that just in terms of what they got. Because again, if you go and you look at Grady Sizemore's baseball reference data, it's before his injury, his most common comps by age are Duke Snider and Barry Bonds. Grady Sizemore as a hitter and Brandon Webb as a pitcher are my 2 great, what ifs. Both of them essentially had their careers end when it was supposed to be their prime. Well, they don't get any more across in this one, unfortunately, but they got 1 run heading to the bottom of the 11th, 6-5. Manuel Clase, I assume, will be the pitcher. It's a safe situation against the team in first place. It's going to be Clase, but can't say for sure, I guess. Again, I have the volume down, so I don't know who's in the pen. Coming up for the Twins in this one, I haven't updated the data, but we're going to keep going till it ends. I can't, so I'm behind. Hammy's always fun to listen to. I still appreciate his calls. Recently, I have been listening to the opposing team's streams just to kind of see what they're saying, doing, and their talk. I always appreciate kind of getting an outside view. It's always good to hear when it comes to all of this. I was going to see if there's anything else I missed prospect-wise. I feel like I had something else I wanted to talk about. I talked about Carlos Vargas. Yes, I did forget something. So, while I got this time between innings, here's a fun fact. So we know the Clevenger trade is trying to be the Bartolo Colon deal take two. I just talked about like the amazing return. It's like a Cy Young pitcher, a guy who was on a Hall of Fame pace before freak injuries, and a multi-time All-Star second baseman for Bartolo Colon. Clevenger trade. Obviously, Owen Miller has been an important player this year. Josh Naylor has been an important player this year. Kyle Quantrill has been an important player this year. Austin Hedges has been an important player this year. Gabriel Arias might be the shortstop of the future. He's been hurt. The forgotten man, though if you listen to the show, I don't let you forget about him, is Joey Cantillo. How about so far this year in Double-A, he has allowed a hard hit ball in 9% of his at-bats. That is the lowest rate in Double or Triple-A this year among pitchers 24 or younger. Number 2, Graham Ashcroft is now in the big leagues with the Reds, but the slowest hard hit percentage of any pitcher in the upper minors who is 24 or younger belongs to Joey Cantillo, who would have been left unprotected in the Rule 5 draft. Again, if you listen to this podcast, you know, I was like, he's gone. Someone's going to take him. Guardians are very lucky in that regard. Yeah. I am very happy. I mean, for Trevor, right? For Stefan, it's back-to-back great performances. So I am, hopefully he's back to where he was when he looked like the eighth inning guy. And again, you don't really want to have the eighth inning guy. I think with this team, with the way it's set up, like if you're facing mostly lefties, then you put Henches. If you're facing mostly righties, you go Stefan. Both of them have been utterly fantastic this year. And let's see, Joe Kenzie Noel. I didn't like adding him, and that's not a knock on Noel. It's more the fact that I went back 15 years and no corner infielder, no first baseman or third baseman who played in the below high A, so played in low A or lower, have been selected in a Rule 5 draft. And no, I kind of want Rule 5 to get canceled again as well, because it's not like this gets any easier. Andrew, I have no chance of getting his name right if I don't have it like playing in front of me. Andrew Misiakis, like what he has done statistically this year. Tim Herron, Aaron Pinto. Who's the other guy I talked about? Miklojak. Miklojak probably gets called up at some point this year as well. It's like that's just a great group of pitchers. Then you got to figure out like Batenfield, Cantillo. I mean, Hunter Gaddis, I didn't see what he did tonight. I'm going to look it up after the show. But they have all of these really interesting... There's no way they can protect everyone. That's why they have to make a trade. But when it comes to Noel, I just didn't like protecting him because he's so far away. He put up absolutely sick numbers, but I'm the guy who... I doubt low A numbers. Like, I'm never going to fully buy in. I've just had too much experience with guys looking really good. And this year he's been solid, but he's not the same guy of a year ago. And like if he put up these numbers last year in high A, a 223 batting average, a 291 on base, a 521 slugging, an 812 OPS. Yeah, he has 18 home runs. He's clobbering the ball. He's going to hit 30 home runs in lower minors. I don't think he gets selected. I don't think they put him on the 40-man. So they're kind of stuck in a weird situation with him. So we'll see. Emmanuel Clase, there we go, out number 1, right? Unless I'm 4 pitches to get the strikeout there. So yeah, I mean, Noel could prove me wrong. He could be a 40 home run guy in the future for the Guardians. He's just so far away. He's not the type of guy I'm going to protect in any situation because again, no player in the last 15 years with his set of dimensions in terms of playing on the corners, being where he was, had played in the big leagues, had been selected. Okay, so I'll try not to ruin it to those listening on the radio. 101 inside, but boom, out number 2. I assume, yeah, runner advances, but no longer a sack situation. Let's see if it sounded filthier than I meant it to mean. This is so honestly, to the chat here, all 8 of you, did you think there was any chance this team could be competing for first by the end of June? I mean, I was when we did our roundtables, and I was talking about them like winning like 85, 88 games, I think was what I said. Between that amount, I wish I was more knowledgeable of all things gambling. I know I do a ton of ad reads for it, but it's, oh, come on. No. And it's not. Up against the wall. Kwan catches it. Jose Miranda took that as deep as one could take it without it going out, and the Guardians are now in first place. But yeah, I thought there was no way. I didn't know that they were projected to be a 78-win team, and this has been so much fun. I want to thank everyone who jumped into the show today. If you're watching at home, 45 minutes. It's never as clean when it is a stream. That's going to be the motto of this. But I hope everyone enjoyed the stream of the now first place Guardians. I'm going to end this here in about another minute or two, unless there's any more questions, and get it all uploaded and ready to go for tomorrow. Stephen Kwan. Man, first place. It's a nice feeling. This is a fun team. It is a team on the rise. Who is their free agent at the end of the year? Yeah, I mean, so they lose at the end of this year. Your only free agents are what? Maley, Shaw, and Hedges. In their ascending, it's like what I talk about on every single podcast when someone asks me to come on and talk about the Guardians. They're doing this with none of the big prospects hitting yet. Like, their studs are still down in the minors. There's next stream, like the potential blue chip, the potential like 4 to 5 win guys. I mean, Kwan, some people had him as a top 100, some people did not. He could be a 4 to 5 win guy. I don't want to make it seem like I'm crapping on him here. But like those big name prospects, we haven't gotten those. Espino, Williams, Nolan Jones, George Valera, Brian Rocchio. Gabriel Reyes for me was like a top 5 guy. He wasn't for everyone. But, I mean, he got hurt. We haven't even had a chance to really see him. Like, this is a team. They had it all on the Twins tonight. I see that, because Civale hadn't been great before his injury. I need to learn about betting. I honestly do. Maybe this isn't the thing to say, but it's like 78 wins. I would totally like put a few bucks on that if I knew what I was doing. I just didn't know what I was doing. But yeah, people were unfair to this team, in my opinion. And again, you can go back and listen to the roundtable we posted. I was like, they got better. Did they get hugely better? No, but they didn't get worse. Like, just taking away at bats from dudes like Harold Ramirez and Bradley Zimmer was going to be a huge difference. It is such a fun team, though, and it's just going to get more fun. Like, we think this is fun now. I talked about Carlos Vargas, who's hitting 100 miles an hour. Well, one pitch at 100, and it was a ball outside, but he's hitting 98 with a 70 grade slider. Well, you might see him in the big leagues this year. I know Daniel Espino hasn't pitched since, like May 7th, and there's right now no timetable for his return. From what I understand, he's still out in Arizona seeing how his knee feels, which is kind of a terrifying thing to think about. But it's like, if Espino comes back, imagine adding him to this bullpen at the end run. It's like, if you had Espino to Clase, I mean, I'm laughing because it's like, if you know enough about the minors. Oh, good to know. Thank you, B Skrills. Good information there. If you know enough about the minors to know about Espino, the thought of like having Stefan and Henches as your 7th inning guys, depending if it's a righty or lefty, then you got Espino, then you got Clase. It just, to me, that sounds like so much fun. Like that, and that's where this team is setting up for. There's so many interesting guys. We're gonna see Nolan Jones. We're gonna see, hopefully, if he doesn't get hurt, Daniel Espino. Maybe we see George Valera. Like these guys are all Tyler Freeman. They're all already on the 40-man, and none of them have had a chance to make an impact yet. Again, I am 100% of belief. I will say about Corinne Chalk, his last 2 relief appearances in AAA have both looked excellent. So only 2. I agree, though. I don't know if he can pitch without the sticky stuff. There is a distinct correlation I didn't think the bullpen would be this good this year at all. I mean, I thought Trevor Stephan showed enough, but I didn't think he would ascend to this level where when he is on, he is the best right-handed reliever since peak Karinchak, not counting Class A. Like the best right-handed relief setup man. He's been, what's all-star level for a reliever? I don't know. Like he's been a top 15 in baseball reliever when he is on. Henches, I was calling for to be released all offseason, so I don't know anything. But moving him to the pen, who's been such a big change. Shaw, I feel like at some point the wheels will come off like did a year ago. I don't know. But yeah, just right now, with Karinchak, he's had 2 good relief appearances. Next week, they have to add him to the 40-man. He's got 2 or 3 options left, though, so they don't have to promote him to the big league squad. He can stay in AAA. They do have, early in the show, I don't know if you were in the stream, Shroom, for those who are already listening, you already talked about this. You look at that bullpen, Anthony Castro is the only weak spot. Who's and that's the fun of it, right? Nick Mikolajczak is down there, and he is the top relief prospect in system. He's in AAA. You have to add him at the end of the year, so he could pitch this year. Carlos Vargas is already on the 40-man. Daniel Espino needs to be added at the end of the year to the 40-man. I mean, Hunter Gaddis is a huge dude. I mean, when I had him on the show, he's, 6'6", and he's up to 260 now. But he's got the best change. He's got high Eli Morgan vibes. They are diametrically different bodies, but in terms of stuff and mix, I think he could be a guy that you put him in the pen and it all plays up well. The bullpen is so good. And they have so many options, and then they have just guys who are top-end statistical performers. And even the guys they're letting go, like Kyle Nelson's pitching really well for the Diamondbacks, if you go check that out. But let's see, what am I at time-wise? I'm sure this has gone off the rails if I'm looking at my recording on it. Yeah, it's a fun outfield, and that's the thing. Like right now, it's like Richie was a second baseman from Townsend, who, this is my brag point. As someone who did a lot of draft stuff, I actually mocked him to the Indians in the 3rd round they were the Indians then, the year they drafted him. So I got that right. But here's a guy who didn't play in 2019 due to injury, came from a small baseball program in Townsend, gets drafted, has a really good early performance numbers, gets hurt. 2020, everyone's lost. Essentially, the guy doesn't play for 2 years, gets thrown into AA, and just takes off running. Even if he's like a super sub or utility type, I think there's incredible value. Quan, I mean, his defense is so good that even when he's having some down stretches, he's going to present value to the team. And Oscar, you just want to be successful because they don't have any other right-handed options. And I agree, Hunter Gaddis is really interesting, and he doesn't get the talk because, Logan Allen is a better prospect, and Tanner Burns is a first-round pick, and Daniel Espino is arguably the best right-handed pitching prospect. I've been talking for an hour. I apologize. In baseball, before he got hurt, added some concerns. So Hunter Gaddis didn't get the run of some of those other guys. And Joey Cantillo is, a lefty who's having this huge bounce back year. But when you look at what Hunter Gaddis has done and you look at his pitch mix, a relief guy, he absolutely could be. The Guardians are in first place. They're the youngest team in baseball for the 2nd year in a row. They're getting new ownership that is going to get, a 30%, 20 to 30% right out of the gate of the team with a chance in the next 6 years, and I think they will. And that is an ownership group that has embraced analytics and value of good management with the Philadelphia 76ers. So you have the youngest team in the league with the most top 100 prospects, one of the deepest minor leagues in baseball, one of the best coaching staffs in baseball, one of the most advanced thought processes in terms of development and identifying, skills and talents and how to, Tanner Bibby pitched tonight. Tanner Bibby added 7 miles an hour, 6 miles an hour in the less than a year since the Guardians drafted him because they just know. They can look at and know how to get more out of guys. This is a team that's ascending, and it's just going to get better and better, barring some unforeseen injury, something like that. Everything is turning right for this franchise right now. And we talked about, they have the most prospects in the top 100. They have the youngest team in baseball. By the way, they also have 2 first-round picks this year. And again, that means those are players that are far away, but that means you're still building that pipeline, right? So while we're talking about that, Freeman and Valera and Jones and Espino are all going to help in the next year or two, we got 2 first-rounders to keep adding into the mix. And you got your ability to keep developing. And again, Tanner Bibby, like I said, I talked about, was a 5th or 6th rounder who they added velocity. Trent Denholm was a day 3 guy who they added velocity to, and he's a more interesting prospect. It's only going to get better. Like, it is a fun time to be a Guardians fan, but just like enjoy this time, because this is the start. This is step 1. This isn't like a team at step 3 who's first in the division. So with Straw, I feel like he's pressing right now. I always thought he was going to be like a below average bat. I always thought, like, on a good team, he bats 9th. The defense is enough there to be valuable. He's also like one of the best glue guys. He's one of Jose's best friends. And you're probably going to trade Jose's other best friend in Ahmed, so it's good to have one of them there. And center fielders are always incredibly valuable. I think he'll figure it out. I don't think he's ever going to be like as good as he was for the second half of last year. That felt like a bit of an aberration. I think he'll be fine long term. I think he is pressing. I think it's good to move him down in the lineup. But yeah, just my final thought with this Guardians team is, some people are going to think, oh, hey, they re-signed Jose. They're tied for first in the division. They're like here on their steps. No, they're here. They are still at the very bottom step. This is a team that's just starting to rise. And yeah, no, I mean, Tristan McKenzie has been their most consistent pitcher this year. This is a chance to win the series. Now, the downside is the Twins also have their most consistent pitcher on the mound in Sonny Gray. So it is definitely aces showing off. And then Thursday, I mean, who knows? Smeltzer, the Guardians have absolutely rocked. In other days, he has dominated them. Plesac has had 4 quality starts in a row. I don't know if they counted his quality starts. He's had 4 of his best starts in a row, but there are concerns with him. I want to thank everyone who listened to this hour podcast. I know it was a fun time for Guardians fans. I mean, come on. We saw this team take over first place in this podcast. Remember to rate and review, download daily, subscribe to the podcast. I appreciate all the comments. Those help. Monday's show got over 500 views. It was one of our 5 most successful shows of all time. So I want to thank you to everyone who helped make that show great. And, thank you to the fans. 95% of my interactions on here are positive, and almost no other show can say that on the Locked On Network. So, Platinum go, please, Zach. I hope so. But yeah, I just want to say again, Guardians fans, not only do we have a great ascending team, it's just great people. Most of the other podcasts have to deal with stuff I don't have to deal with. So just thank you. First place Guardians. And as I end my shows, go Guardians, go.